A perpetual drizzle slicked the streets of Westgate City, the gray sky weeping a mist that clung to everything, a chilling echo of the day Silas Kane had died. On the polished stage of the city auditorium, Captain Liam Asher stood ramrod straight, his dress uniform a stark navy against the sea of lights. He looked heroic, but a deep weariness was etched into the lines around his eyes. From the back of the room, Ethan Cole watched him, a ghost in the crowd. The officer beside him, a young man whose face was bright with admiration, murmured about how incredible Captain Asher was. Ethan's gaze remained fixed on the stage as he asked, almost to himself, if he really was. The young officer turned, his brow furrowed with indignation. He explained that it was the Medal of Valor, an honor the city bestowed maybe once or twice a year. He spoke of how Liam had risked his life to single-handedly dismantle the largest crime syndicate the city had ever known. Dismantle the city's largest crime syndicate. The words were a phantom limb, an ache of a memory. He saw Liam's face, not illuminated by stage lights, but grim in the strobing blue and red of police cruisers. He saw the barrel of a gun, steady in Liam's hand, pointed directly at his own head. He remembered tilting his head back, a broken smile on his lips, and asking him if he liked the commendation he'd gifted him. The memory was punctuated by the deafening crack of a gunshot. Cold. Final. The pain of a bullet to the head was a surprisingly sharp memory, but it was true. He had given Liam a Medal of Valor. The bitter taste of his coffee was a welcome distraction. He turned to the young officer and agreed, a faint smile playing on his lips. Liam Asher was indeed incredible. After the ceremony, Liam's voice cut through the milling crowd, calling Ethan's name. In his office, Liam sat behind a formidable oak desk, a file open before him. A butterfly bandage was stark against the skin of his forehead, a lingering mark from their final confrontation. He was thinner than Ethan remembered, the planes of his face sharper, his eyes shadowed with an exhaustion that seemed bone-deep. This was not the vibrant, unwavering man from his memories. Liam's clear, toneless voice asked if he was listening. Ethan snapped back to the present, confirming that he was. Liam recited his file, noting that Ethan Cole had graduated from the Westgate Police Academy at the top of his class. Ethan nodded. Liam closed the folder then, his gaze finally lifting to meet Ethan's. For the first time since his rebirth, they looked at each other directly. Liam offered a small, professional smile and said that he was looking for a new partner, asking if Ethan would be interested in the position. It was the smile that did it. In his past life as Silas Kane, he had thrown away everything, orchestrated his own ruin, just to earn a shred of Liam's attention, and never once had the man smiled at him. He had only been told to get out. Yet here, this nobody, this rookie shell of a man, earned one just by standing in his office. It was a bitter pill to swallow. He declined. Liam's smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of surprise. He asked for a reason. Ethan thought of 1,000 truths he could never speak. Because being near you is a distraction. Because I love you. Instead, he lowered his gaze and offered a plausible lie about his inexperience, claiming he couldn't risk holding the captain back and needed more time to prove himself. Liam's smile returned, a little deeper this time. He assured Ethan that it wouldn't be an issue. He explained that since the syndicate had been dismantled, most of the work was just tying up loose ends, making it the perfect opportunity for a rookie to learn the ropes. So that was it. The life Silas had built and destroyed was now the perfect training ground for the man he had become. You don't want to be the captain's partner? Ethan, I don't get you. I kill for that chance. Mark Riggs was the partner Liam assigned him instead. a mountain of a man with a booming voice and biceps that strained the seams of his uniform. The names Ethan Cole, Mark Riggs, they sounded so mundane, so utterly ordinary. Ethan ignored him, his attention fixed on the city maps spread across their desk. Mark, however, was persistent, asking why anyone would pass up a chance to work with Liam. He listed Liam's accolades like a prayer: Medal of Valor recipient, tactical genius, a man who could take down an entire organization, brilliant and strong. Mark then leaned in conspiratorially, adding that on top of all that, Liam was a genuinely good, kind person. And handsome. A man who was a pleasure to work with and to look at. Ethan didn't respond directly, instead turning to ask if Mark didn't find him handsome. Mark nodded agreeably, conceding that Ethan was good-looking, but not like the captain. Ethan finally folded the map, turning to face his partner. He mimicked the ghost of a smile he remembered on Liam's face. He told Mark he should be thanking him for sacrificing his own visual enjoyment for Mark's benefit. The punches that followed were solid and surprisingly painful. Mark's muscles were not just for show. But in the end, it was Mark on the floor with his arm twisted behind his back, his breath coming in pained gasps. Ethan let him up. As Mark rubbed his sore shoulder, he looked at Ethan, his expression a mixture of awe and bewilderment. He asked, with genuine curiosity, if Ethan really disliked the captain that much. "I like him," Ethan said, the words slipping out with the practiced ease of a muscle memory. He paused, the act of dusting off his uniform suddenly feeling significant. An image flashed in his mind. Liam's face, impassive, as he pulled the trigger. He turned back to Mark, a chilling smile touching his lips as he added, "I love him to death. So I died." He had loved Liam Asher from the very beginning. From long before. But Liam never knew. How could he? In the grand narrative of their world, Silas Kane was the villain, and Liam Asher was the hero. No one would ever write a story where the irredeemable monster falls for the righteous paladin who stands against everything he is. But Silas had always been an anomaly. His empire had been vast, its tendrils wrapped so tightly around the city's throat that no one dared to challenge him. Except for Liam, captain of the WPD's Major Crimes Division. A man with a mid-level title and an iron will, who had systematically dismantled two of Silas's major operations. Silas had watched him on a security feed, a lone figure moving through a warehouse of highly trained mercenaries. He'd watched Liam, bare-knuckled and bleeding, stand victorious amidst a field of unconscious bodies. Fascination was the seed of obsession. He'd ordered a complete background check, certain that absolute power had to have corrupted him, that there was a stain somewhere on his pristine record. But the report came back clean. Utterly, impossibly clean. They found records of him helping elderly women cross the street in grade school, but not a single hint of darkness. In the filthy, ink-black world Silas inhabited, Liam Asher was exactly what his name suggested. A beacon of light, untouched by the grime. He was special. So special, Silas wanted to drag him down into the abyss with him. Crafting a new identity was simple. It took less than 2 weeks for Ethan Cole to be instated at the WPD. On his first day, Liam had approached him. The man who was a savage on the security tapes was now smiling, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He was endearingly awkward when Silas complimented him, rubbing the back of his neck with a bashful grin. When Silas spoke of needing his guidance in the days to come, Liam had clapped him on the shoulder, his expression earnest and resolute, promising he would do everything he could to help. Police work was not the constant high-stakes drama Silas had imagined. There were petty thefts, calls about clogged pipes, and hours spent searching for runaway pets. During one such case, Liam had him crawling through suburban hedges, shouting the name of a lost poodle into a megaphone. The sight was so absurd Silas had to stifle his laughter. The absurdity peaked when they were presented with a gaudy plaque from the grateful owner, which read, "To the WPD's finest, for your service in preserving my dog's life." The other officers had laughed and posed for pictures. But Liam took the plaque and hung it on his office wall with a genuine, heartfelt pride. Silas leaned against the doorframe, watching him. He noticed the scars on Liam's arms, old, faded white lines mixed with fresh red scratches from the search. The image of the bloodied warrior from the warehouse flashed in his mind. He couldn't reconcile the two. He finally walked over and asked if chasing after dogs and dealing with trivialities was truly meaningful. Liam, his good and righteous captain, didn't get angry. He simply turned and brushed a stray leaf from Silas's uniform. He explained, his voice gentle, that there was no such thing as a small matter when it came to the public. Their job was to serve the people, no matter the task. Silas Kane was not a man who could be taught. He was a creature of darkness, rotten to the core. He grew tired of the mundane, boring work, even with Liam by his side. Liam was smart. Silas had given him a 3-day window to follow the next breadcrumb he'd laid. But Liam figured it all out in one. Before their next major raid, Liam personally handed him his sidearm. He told Cole, his alias, that it was his first time using a gun in the field and that he should be careful not to get hurt. Silas looked down at the weapon. He had been trained to kill since he was a boy, had climbed to his position over a mountain of corpses. He could handle a gun better than Liam ever could. But he just nodded and said he understood, teasingly calling him Mama Liam. It was a nickname the younger officers used for him, a testament to his caring, meticulous nature. Liam once spent an hour after a long shift sewing a torn sleeve for a rookie. Liam just punched his arm lightly, telling him not to be a smartass. The touch was playful, barely felt, but it sent a strange warmth through Silas. He found himself grinning, a genuine, childish grin. During the raid, Silas intentionally let their target slip away. When Liam found him, Silas was bleeding profusely from a deep gash in his arm, the white of the bone visible. He had been contemplating making the wound worse. Liam rushed to his side without hesitation, tearing a strip from his own shirt to create a makeshift tourniquet. He frantically checked for other injuries. Silas shook his head, feigning disappointment as he reported that he'd lost the target. Liam simply let out a breath of relief, telling him it didn't matter, as long as he wasn't seriously hurt. The injury was theatrical but shallow. After he was patched up at the hospital, Liam met him. As dusk painted the city in hues of orange and purple, Liam took him to a small, greasy spoon diner for a bowl of chili. It was cheap, the meat was sparse, and it was a little too salty. Silas was used to the finest cuisine, food that matched the price he had paid with his life and soul. Cheap things felt like an insult. But Liam explained that he'd been coming to this place since he was a kid. He always came here after a hospital visit. He said it was comforting. He hoped Silas wouldn't mind. So Silas ate every last bite in silence. And when he was done, he ordered another bowl. If Liam Asher said it was good, then it was good. During his recovery, Silas ignored Liam's orders to stay home, showing up for duty every day with his arm in a sling. Liam was exasperated at first, but Silas would just look at him earnestly and say he needed to be ready in case the captain needed him. The truth was, he just needed to see him. Shortly after his arm healed, Silas was back in the field. This time, he was the one who received a commendation plaque. He'd spotted a wanted fugitive during a routine patrol and, acting on instinct, had the man pinned against a wall before his brain caught up. A villain doing good deeds. The irony was not lost on him. It seemed that proximity to Liam was making him better. Julian Croft, Silas's old partner and current rival, laughed himself sick when he saw the plaque. Julian was crazier than Silas, his hands stained with far more blood. After the laughter died, he pressed a knife to Silas's throat and asked if he was getting addicted to playing cop. The blade bit into his skin, but Julian could never beat him. In the end, it was Julian's blood that stained Silas's clothes. Silas stood up, wiping his hands clean on a napkin. He smiled and admitted that yes, he was addicted. He warned Julian to be careful, or he might just kill him and hand his body over for his own medal of valor. He threw the plaque in the trash as he left. But later that night, clad in a hoodie and mask, he found himself digging through the filth of a dumpster. He knew he was insane. But then he remembered the way Liam's eyes had crinkled when he handed him the plaque, and with a curse, he pulled it out. He cleaned it, wrapped it, boxed it, and stored it away in a secret cellar. Life fell into a strange, peaceful rhythm. By day, he was Officer Cole, Liam's devoted partner, chasing thieves and maintaining order. By night, he was Silas Kane, a king in a world of vice, watching impassively as thousands fell into ruin. And then one evening, as the sun bled across the horizon, Liam asked him a question. He said that everyone lives for something, and he asked what Silas's purpose was. Silas watched the sunset for a long moment before answering that perhaps, for him, living was just about the act of living. After a silence, Liam pressed, asking if it truly meant nothing to him. Silas turned to him, the red light of the dying day making his features beautiful, and said that it didn't. But maybe, he added, it could. He had forgotten how clever Liam was. He had forgotten that a man so pure could also be so perceptive. Ethan, are you spacing out? Mark's voice pulled him from the memory. He shook his head. Mark looked at him, his expression suddenly serious. He reminded Ethan that this was their first major operation together, and he needed to stay focused. Ethan didn't reply. His eyes were on Liam, who was positioned across the street, gun drawn. The present and the past bled together. The only difference was the person at Liam's side. A nervous-looking rookie who was clearly out of his depth. Not as handsome as him, not as skilled. Inferior in every way. A pang of regret hit him. He should have taken the partnership. His assessment proved correct. The chaos erupted in a symphony of gunfire, blood, and shouting. The next thing Ethan knew, he was sitting on a bench in a hospital corridor, a fresh bandage on his arm, the exact same spot as last time. But this time it wasn't intentional. Mark had been with him the whole time. The 200-pound man, who looked like he could bench press a car, had broken down in tears when the doctor confirmed Ethan was fine. Ethan had to laugh, asking why he was crying like a schoolgirl when he was clearly okay. Mark didn't argue, just used the corner of Ethan's shirt to wipe his eyes, mumbling about how much blood there had been and how he thought he was about to lose his partner of only a month. Now, Mark stood before him holding a bag of prescriptions, rattling off instructions like an overbearing mother. Ethan listened in silence. When Mark finished, he paused, then looked at Ethan with renewed awe. He couldn't believe how fast Ethan had moved. The shooter had a clear shot at Liam, and neither he nor Liam's new partner had even reacted before Ethan launched himself in front of the captain. If it hadn't been for him, Liam might have been. Mark's gaze drifted down the hall. Ethan followed it and saw Liam talking to a doctor. The man was tall, with pale skin and gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an air of cool, aristocratic grace. But as he spoke to Liam, his expression was soft, his eyes gentle. Ethan recognized him. Dr. Evan Hayes, chief of the ER. The city's top doctor and the city's top cop. They looked perfect together. He was, after all, Liam's intended partner in the original story. As they spoke, Liam looked up and their eyes met. He excused himself and jogged over to Ethan. He reported that he'd spoken to Dr. Hayes and the bullet hadn't hit anything vital. He would be fine with some rest. He glanced at his watch and noted that the anesthetic was probably wearing off, then asked how Ethan was feeling. Just then, Dr. Hayes walked over as well. "Not good," Ethan said, his eyes fixed on Liam. "It hurts like hell." Liam had always been a soft touch, especially since Ethan had been injured saving him. He insisted on sitting with Ethan through a whole new round of examinations before offering to drive him home. As they passed the diner, Ethan, on pure instinct, asked if he wanted to stop for a bowl of chili. Liam hesitated for a fraction of a second, then agreed. While they waited for their food, Liam unwrapped a set of silverware for him and asked, in a tone that was meant to be casual, why he'd suggested this particular place. Ethan took the fork and replied nonchalantly that maybe he just thought their chili was good. Or maybe, he added, he just wanted a little more time with the captain. Liam just smiled and said nothing. He walked Ethan to his apartment door. The courtyard was quiet, the only light coming from a few scattered, buzzing lamps. Liam, just as he had in their past life, began to review the operation, taking the blame for what had gone wrong. Then he thanked Ethan. And after the thanks, he looked up and asked him again, for the real reason he didn't want to be his partner. Liam was too smart for lies. Ethan knew that. As he opened his mouth to spin another tale, the image of Liam standing with Evan Hayes flashed in his mind. It was an irritatingly perfect picture. But what did a hero have that he didn't? A hero had to follow the rules. The prepared lie died on his lips. With a sense of reckless abandon, he closed the distance between them, his hand finding the small of Liam's back. He pulled him close and kissed him. If lies were bound to be discovered, then he would only tell the truth. It was a brief, searing kiss. His thumb brushed against a mole on Liam's side, a detail he remembered from another life. He finally answered the question. "Because I like you," he murmured against Liam's lips. "And I was afraid I'd do exactly this. It's bad for work." He watched the disbelief dawn in Liam's eyes. He tightened his grip on his waist, leaned in, and kissed him again, a slow, deliberate press of his lips. "So, Captain," he whispered, "why did you have to keep asking until you got the answer?"